All right. Checking to see if I got, looks like I got sound. Looks like I got audio. Chat's already going. How's everybody doing out there tonight? Glad I can get some people to make it out. How's it going? I have to say, I was really nervous about doing this because after the last live event that I tried that went to absolute crap, I was like, oh my gosh, I really have to figure this out. And that, it's like I should be doing better with this stuff, but it's like I don't do it that often. So it's one of my things. I'm like, all right, I need to do this more often. Um, so last night, as when I decided to do this, I'm like, okay, I got with son and we sat down and I went through all the settings and I did a whole bunch of private streams just so we can test out the process. And I found the thing, it was actually on the Google's pop-up that was blocking my video. And that's what happened last time. So I was like, so I fixed it. I did it a couple more times. And then I'm like, oh, okay, let's try doing this tomorrow. Like, hopefully this works. Like, geez. All right. Yeah. And because luckily they're not that tricky for me because I don't use like a lot of streamers. They use special software that talks to YouTube for the streaming. I don't do that. I just use my webcam and my camera, and that's it. So that's a less of a complex thing in there. Um, let's see. For those watching later, it's what is it? Tuesday night? Yeah, Tuesday, October 7th, 2025. So my plan for this is I actually plan on because live streams, a lot of people want to know the information, but nobody really goes in to watch them. So it's just one of the things, and the algorithm stuff doesn't push live stream videos at all. Does at the time, but not afterwards. So my plan for this is I'm actually going to take this recording and basically um, post it tomorrow or maybe the next day, just when I have time. I'm actually going to post this video as just a regular video. It won't be on my new Monday release schedule, but it'll be up there. So people that don't normally do live streams or have any care for them can still get out there and see it if they want to. Spending a lot of time away from the camera, of course, because I'm looking at chats and stuff on the side, seeing what's going on. Let's see here. Yeah. So glad people can join me tonight. That's awesome. Let's see. It's 8:20 on the East Coast, 5:20 on the West Coast if people are home from work or anything like that done yet. So tonight's video basically, well, I guess since I'm going to put this out as a regular video, might as well do the regular video thing, huh? Do the regular video thing, right? Might as well. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ryan Ride Mechanic channel. How the heck are you doing today? All right. Today's live video, I basically wanted to talk about Stardust Racers. Man, some days my talker works, some days it doesn't. Um, Especially days when I work out a bunch like today. It's like everything's kind of slow. So the question is, did they open it too soon? And that's what I want to talk about. So let's get into that. All right. 2 weeks ago, we had Stardust Racers at Epic Universe. We had a person come back and they had passed away on the ride. And from there forward, there was not a lot of information known. There was like very, very little information known. So the information that came up was basically okay, very quickly after the death, we got a coroner's report that said we're going to do that said the person, Kevin, passed away from multiple blunt force injury. I've talked this out with a lot of people from all different walks of life everywhere, and a lot of us can't figure out where this happened. Like when you look at restraints and pictures of seats and stuff like that, and there was a speculation at one point that he had hit his head on the bar in front of the seat. It's like that is so far out there. Like even like I can't like sitting in a seat, I can't fold my body over far enough to get my head to that bar. Let alone in those max seats, they've got that nice over the shoulder bar that comes down, not so much over the shoulder, but I mean it just comes down over you, and it puts basically kind of like a pillow up against your belly lap area, which would make getting your head further forward even that much harder to do. So like nothing lines up. There's actually been several people that have made the same comment. I actually had this comment the very first day when I had dug into this. I'm like, does this look like foul play to anybody else? Now, the coroner said it was an accident, and we I definitely want to take that at full play, but full value. It was an accident. Okay. I made my last video because I said, like, look, this is what we know. This happened. What's the next step? Well, they're going to do a whole bunch of tests and checks, and everyone's going to look at this ride and evaluate if the ride was functioning properly. That was the first part of it. And the second part was, is the design of the ride adequate enough? So for the first part, they had their own investigation team, on-site team. They had people from Florida come in. They had experts come in as well, and they said, "All right, is the ride working properly?" And everything came back with, "Yes, the ride is working properly." They interviewed people from around the area. Did anybody notice anything, feel anything, see anything? And basically, the answer came back with like, "No, nobody did anything else." So, like my last video, I've already stated this before, people can die on amusement park rides the same way people can die in cars, not necessarily in a car accident, just driving along in a car. You can have a stroke, you can have a heart attack, you can die any point in time. Life is precious, and I do not want to undermine that at any point in time during this video or my last one at all. So I just wanted to make sure, like, at no point in time am I saying that life isn't precious and this isn't a tragic thing that happened, because it is. So Universal went through all these steps. They did all this stuff. They checked with the ride manufacturer out looking at it. They had Florida out, they had the state basically out looking at it. They had an investigative team from the police out there. That everyone looked at this stuff, and everyone said that basically, yes, the ride is okay. Now, on the other side, Kevin's family went out and got a lawyer, Ben Crump. So they got Ben Crump in there, and Ben Crump is out there saying, like, okay, we shouldn't open up this ride at all until we know exactly what happened. Well, at some point in time, with anything, I don't care what it is, you have to cut your losses and you have to say, okay. So basically, everyone came together and looked at the ride and said, the ride is safe, the ride is solid. Mac's been building these rides and using these trains and these rides and everything else. They've never had a problem like this. So, not to say that there wasn't ever a problem, but it's highly unlikely that there is a problem with a ride. And we got a whole bunch of people together and agreed that there's nothing wrong with the ride. Open it up, it's fine. So, and then you have Ben Crump sitting there saying, like, this was an official statement he made. I'll read this right here. By rushing to open this ride as if nothing happened, Universal is showing a great disrespect for Kevin's life, our family's pain, and the safety of every rider who steps onto that coaster. Now, parks are generally they're in the business of opening up stuff. That is what they're there to do. They're there to open up the ride, to make money, to keep those doors open. And basically, they have enough lawyers sitting there saying, like, okay, well, it's a crappy thing to say, but Basically, they're looking at like Kevin shouldn't have been writing this anyway. Like he hit a lot of the criteria points. Like he had all these problems and everything else. So they're like, he shouldn't have been writing this anyway. But the rules kind of had this gray area that if he could transfer in and get in the thing, he would be okay. Well, that was one of the corrections that came out of this. Universal came out and basically said, following attractions, guest mobility devices must be able to walk independently. That means they have to be able to, if they're in a wheelchair or anything else, they have to be able to get up and take steps to get into the ride on their own. Now, some people can't do this anymore. Um, this was one of the, sorry, I'm kind of reading through the chat here too at the same time. Um, this is one of the things on my last video, and if you haven't seen it, go check it out. This is one of the things that I really warned about. Like, this is one of the things you do not want to dig into people's ability, because once you do that, right now, the ride, or I should say before it closed, the ride's acceptance rate was at, let's say out of a 200,000 or maybe even probably bigger, let's say out of uh, you, we'll just 200,000. We'll just make up some numbers here, right? Because I don't have anything official. Out of 200,000 people, it had like a 99.98% acceptance rate of people that could get on that roller coaster and ride it and have fun. And then afterwards, what they said is, okay, well, we are going to put these restrictions into place, and they basically took the restrictions they had and dialed them up a little bit more and made it a little bit harder. Now that acceptance rate is probably dropped down. Now it's probably around the 97, 96% rate. So people that have been going to Universal, they're maybe in a wheelchair and maybe they just need help from a person getting into it, but they can't do it on their own. That some of those scenarios, they have now ruled out those people and said, nope, you now can officially not ride this ride. And that's really crappy. I mean, I'm sorry, that's crappy from any point of view. I want, just like I said on my last video, I want the decision to lay with me. I want to make that decision. If I want to ride the ride, I want to do that. I wholeheartedly believe there should be some sort of a waiver system in place rather than cracking down on people more. I would much rather go if I had a broken arm or an injury of some sort that ticks off one of those things on the list and says, "Hey, you can't do this." I would much rather go in, sign a form, you know, swear to a judge that yes, I am of sound mind and I'm going and I want to ride this roller coaster. That's my thing. Um, but it's like a lot of people might not have that drive. But one of the things that a lot of people look at that they don't think about when they get on these rides is they don't actually read those warnings up front. And it's like, look, have you been ill at all? Have you been sick? I'm not talking a serious sickness like where you had to go like cancer, where you had to go chemotherapy or something. It just says sick. Like you could have a cold. If you had a cold, it says not to ride that thing. Any pre-existing condition. One thing that a lot of people have knowingly, and they still get on these rides every single time, is high blood pressure. And on every single board out there, it says right on there, heart or high blood pressure. It says, do not ride this thing. So there's a lot of things. And when you read all these warnings and put them all together and take them wholeheartedly to faith, it's just like, okay, a lot of people can't ride these things, but a lot of people still do. And I just think that this should be left in the hands of the rider, not so much in the hands of a company. Because if you say, well, you're going to hold a company responsible for every single thing that happens. I was listening to another YouTube channel and the guy made a very good point, said, hey, we don't want to help people on the ride. That's a big no-no to help people on the ride. It's like, well, what's helping? Where's your definition boundary? And I was like, this is very true, right? Where is the definition boundary? And he made a great point. He opened the gate to let the person in. It's like, oh, yep. Is that helping? Is that helping by opening up the gate? It's like, oh, they checked the restraint. Put it down, check the restraint. Was that helping? Was that helping at all? What really helps is when somebody else pushes the dispatch buttons for you. I mean, it's that semantics, right? It's like, where do you want to stop on this thing? At some point, we have to start using common sense with stuff and just be like, all right, I'm done with that. Um, so it is one of those things. And from the beginning of the video, my opinion, I'm going to say no. This was not the case. Epic Universe did not open this ride too soon. I think they did everything they needed to do. They brought in their own people, they brought in independent people, they brought in ride manufacturers, they brought everybody in and said, hey, everybody look at this and let's make sure we didn't miss anything. Everyone looked at it and everyone said, thumbs up, it's good, great, open it back up. And they decided to open it back up. Now, on Kevin's end of things, I feel so bad for him. My heart goes out to him and his family. Um, it's a tragic loss, right? But the ride didn't do anything wrong. Um, this is where I start to get malicious in a bad way, and I don't like it. Um, I don't hold lawyers in the best light at all because I've heard Crump's been called an ambulance chaser, and I kind of feel that way. Yeah, it kind of seems like it. What's the reason for making all this? Like, we're going to hold the ride down. We were going to petition. I've heard someone start a petition to close the ride back down. Just a random person not involved with the case. They wanted to close the ride back down. Um, I just don't. I think these people, they have one thing in mind, and that's the paycheck coming from this case. Honestly, I feel like that's what it boils down to. It boils down to money. Um, is Kevin's family entitled to money? So the nice guy in me, the thing, if I were in this place, and this turned the tide, I would want some sort of compensation, right? And that's me personally. Like if my wife had passed away on a ride and I felt it was something to do with the park, I would want some sort of compensation just for funeral bills, stuff like that. I would, honestly. At the same time, Universal has to set they have to keep with the precedent here, which is if they decide to pay out money, whether it's in a courtroom or out of a courtroom, if they decide to pay out money, they're basically, to some extent, admitting fault. They're admitting fault. They're like, hey, you know what? That sucks. Because people can't take money at face value. If Universal stood around and said, hey, um, we just want to give this family money just because it's a horrible event that happened, then people would speculate that that is due to they're held liable. They're liable for that, and that's why they paid out. When in reality, that's not the case. They had time between the time they announced that they were going to open the coaster back up and the time that they did. They had time to legally stop it. They could have put a legal, I forget what the term is called, injunction. That's right. I'm not great with legal terms. I'm sorry. But they could have legally filed paperwork to stop Universal from opening the ride back up, and that would have at least slowed the process down. Now, Universal had every right. They stood on all their legs there, and they said, "Look, we did our due diligence, which is all you can ask for in these cases." And they said the ride is working perfectly fine. Awesome. The ride is working perfectly fine. Um, but you also have to worry about the longer the ride stays closed, the worst, worse, the worse your perception is to the outside world. You already have people that are coming into the park they had their vacation scheduled and they're there in the park, and you already have people going into that park that now do not want to ride that ride because they're uncertain if it's safe or not. And that's damage to the reputation of the ride. There's nothing the park can do to get that back. Anytime you have a fatality on a ride, whether it's caused by the ride or not, it tarnishes that ride's thing and that ride's image to the public, especially the way news media and people typically get in there and they blow it out of proportion in a bad way. And then you have people, you know, my YouTube feed is filled with all amusement ride stuff. That's everything. And there's a lot of people that just have been doing daily, sometimes twice a day updates on this case. Because for people that are making money off of YouTube, it brings in a lot of people and you'll get more money off of it. So again, this is boiled down to money. Not whether it was a good decision for the park. It's not whether it was the correct thing to do or anything else. This was about a lot of people made this about money. It's a crappy thing. That's an absolute crap thing that happens. Um, but it happens all over the place. So yeah, I don't think Universal rushed this opening. I think they did it correctly. And if I were working at that park doing the same exact thing, or if I was higher up in the chain there making the same calls, I would probably make the same exact call myself. I would say, yeah, okay, we've done everything. The ride's safe. We know it's safe. We have the manufacturer doing it. We've got everything. Okay, let's open the ride back up. And they did. Not fun. It's not fun stuff at all. Let's see. Sorry, I've been kind of going off and ignoring the chat here a little bit. Yeah, I mean, so I see a icon being mentioned, and yeah. So Crump's experience was from he was the lawyer for the Icon Park, the drop tower fatality there, but that was a different story. We had they were able to confirm it's like they weren't maintaining the ride properly. They had bypassed some stuff and they had adjusted things outside of what the manufacturer said it was supposed to be and then claimed that it was okay. You had all sorts of red flags thrown up on the Icon Park incident. Not in a great way at all. So it's like I completely agree. There was absolute park fault there. Yeah, they had to tear out the ride. It's like, yeah, that's that's what you do in that scenario. One of the things we brought up was when we were talking about this on because I help host, not host, but I mean help with the Side Friction podcast that comes out every Saturday. And we had brought this up during the last podcast that I was on where we were talking about it, and I said, I grew up in Northern California. California's Great America, soon to be closed. And basically, Willard's Whizzer had a fatality on it. There was unfortunately, oh man, I mean, age is nothing, death is eternal. But we had a kid loading into the car in the station, and the other one blew through the brakes behind it for some unknown reason and slammed into that car. The kid fell like 15 feet down to the ground and passed away. So the bad part about that one is they couldn't figure out why that happened. It was a glitch in the control system because they said that the people that were there, I remember they said that the coaster didn't even try to slow down. It just went straight through like it was supposed to and slammed into the car in front of it. For that type of stuff, the response was, well, they tore the ride out and they got rid of it. But since Six Flags owned the other Willard's Wizard, which is still in operation today, they acknowledged, like, hey, there's a gremlin in it. We don't know where, how, or why. So they shut the ride down. And then they ripped out the entire control system and put in a brand new one. They like didn't reuse the old stuff or anything. They just put 100% brand new system in that ride because they're like, we don't know what happened. We're just going to rip it out and start over from scratch. And that way, whatever happened in there is just, it's gone. It's done. It can't happen again. I thought that was really interesting. I was like, oh, so there was a chance. My favorite ride in California was Willard's Wizard growing up. So I'm like, there was a chance. Was it? I don't think it was Paramount at the time. It was, I think it was still Marriott. I think there was a chance Marriott could have recovered from that one, but I don't think they wanted to invest that much energy into it. Plus, they had the negative image from that accident already that they weren't going to recover from. You know, you can't recover from a lot of that stuff. Yeah, and this case is so problematic in general. I just because I put my I always like to try to think about things rationally. I try to turn the table and put myself in that position. And like I said, I would want, like I said, I want compensation, but it's not just me being greedy, or is it just me being greedy? I don't know. I mean, when you lose a family member, there's nothing you can do to bring that back. Nothing you can do to bring your family members back once they're lost. It's a bad thing that I don't wish people to go through. I mean, eventually we kind of all go through it, whether it's losing a grandparent or a mom or a dad, or even a sibling, brother, unfortunately, kids. Everyone kind of goes through their own loss in some way, and there's and grieving's a rough process for sure. It's not great. All right. Yeah. Yeah, when I record my videos like doing this, I there is a lot of this that I do. I kind of go off and I start thinking about things, and I do there's a lot of pausing, just thinking to myself, trying to gather my thoughts in my head. It's one of the it's kind of the downside to never scripting videos, is like my brain is always like when my brain starts to track off, I can't get that back into the right place so much. So you'll see if you guys have been watching me for a while, you'll see me start to go down the road and then I kind of go off on a tangent and then I never quite picked up where I was. I kind of jump to another topic because I don't script my videos at all. And I tried for a while. I tried every once in a while to script a video, and it was just horrible. Uh, Really, my hat's off to people who can, uh, like actors and stuff, who can read something and memorize it because I am absolutely horrible at that. Like I tried to like every once in a while I try like, oh, I should say this paragraph exactly the way I'm thinking of it because I thought about it and I wrote it down. And I can't even remember one sentence at a time looking at it. I'm like, what? What? And then people like, well, how do you have that problem? And then, like as a former ride mechanic, how did you just like not have this problem, be able to like read stuff and memorize it, but then you're able to go work on rides just fine? It's like, because I love rides. I don't love memorizing words. I love rides though. uh, One of the very few mechanics in the shop that was sat there and read manuals and stuff all the time, and then went out and tried to apply that logic to rides. And not many mechanics will ever do that. They're more just like, all right, here, paycheck, go home. Let's see here. Yeah, I see right here, CC, it's a clear money grab. I want Universal to not settle. And it's like I'm kind of with you. I wish that family could get something, but like I said, that's a precedent that Universal does not want to set. They don't want to do. And the whole time, this whole time now, all it's going to be is Crump sitting there, just like moment after moment, just trying to villainize the park. He's going to try to villainize the park and all the staff for being the evil people to open the ride back up. Going to pull in every feeling and emotion you can, trying to like make sure it's evil. And realistically, that's a money grab, because all they're hoping to do is to settle, whether it's in court or out of court. And they're just, every time they say the park is evil, the park is doing something bad, the amount of money that could be either settled or won by a jury is just getting higher and higher for every statement they make like that. And it's not a good thing. I really don't like lawyers. Man, I don't like lawyers. Um, and I mean, I'm not, it's not like the first time anyone's heard me say that. A lot of people, you know, overseas, they're like, why do you guys have all these crazy procedures and all these weird things written in when we don't do this over in Germany, or we don't do this over in Europe, something like that. And I said, this is the price we pay for living in a country that's run by lawyers, because that's what this country is. It's run by lawyers. Everybody sues everybody for everything. And until we make some sort of a standard, like a lot of countries do, and just say we're not going to allow those frivolous lawsuits, get them out of here, clogging up the court system, we will just continue to do things like sue for spilling hot coffee on ourselves, um, sue for tripping over a crack in the ground. Like we sue everybody for everything, and then wonder why parks are so expensive to get into. It's like that you're paying for lawyers and insurance. That's why parks are so expensive to get into there. So much money, so much money. I mean, yeah, working at the park, we had our own inspections we did on the rides for our annuals, and then they were followed up by the state of California came in, did their inspections. Then we had a third party inspector, our QSI inspection. That inspector would come in, do the inspections on the ride. And a lot of times we'd have another insurance person come into the park. They would do their inspections. And then the state of California, I'm not sure if other states do this or not. I don't know, but the state of California would always come back, and it was part of their process. We knew, it's a known process. They would always come back. I think it was 3 times a year, and do what's called unannounced visits. That's where they show up to the park. Basically, the directors, the maintenance director, the operations director, those people knew that the person was on the property, but they did not know where they were going, what they were doing, who they were looking at. And what they would do is they would walk through the park just like a guest, and they would stand off rides and just watch the ride run. And they would just watch the operators working on the ride. And we would have a really, really big problem if they were watching the operator watch the ride. And then that operator, was sitting there, use the example, and they're like, okay, dispatch. And they're dispatching the ride. And then while it's dispatching, the operator's like, whoop, if a phone comes out, it's like, nope, there's a phone call. That ride is shut down almost instantaneously. The ride operator is taken off, retrained. They lose their certification for the ride. Like, bad news if you're not paying attention. That was one of the things they said. whenever you go to a traveling fair, if you're going to go to a fair or something and ride rides at a carnival, um, they're like the rides are, 50-50. Take them for what they're worth. But they're like the key part, the biggest safety feature of a ride is the operator. If the operator is not paying attention, that ride is not safe. Mechanically safe, sure, why not? Go for it. But they're like, if the operator is not watching that ride, then that's not a safe ride because the operator is like the biggest safety feature of that entire ride, of that entire system, is the operator. And that's one of the interesting. Ag- Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture handles amusement park inspections, also and same inspector for fireworks. Interesting. That's one of the things I love because, man, a lot of people have asked, and I see it around out there. Is there any other channels like Ryan the Ride Mechanic? And there's not really because most people that have this level of like passion for doing this stuff are still in the industry. And when you're in the industry, you can't do stuff like this channel. It doesn't happen. The parks won't allow it, at least here in the US, the parks won't allow it. Why won't they allow it? Because if you say we do this, this, and that, and you put that on film, then that's the first thing that's going to be used against you in a court. Again, lawyers. Lawyers, right? First thing if we say, hey, we did this, we documented this, and then it's going to be like, yeah, that's what they're going to use against you. They're going to hang you up by that in a court. It's like, okay, so that's why you typically don't find it. People have asked me, I said, well, if you could go back to work for a park, would you? It's like, I might. If I did, this channel would come to a screeching halt. And then people say, well, what about other people? Like, would you worry if some other person came up and started doing this stuff? I'm like, no. Oh my gosh, no. I would not worry at all. I don't care about the views and subscribers and stuff like that. I mean, it helps. Awesome. Absolutely. I would love to see somebody else just like me make the same exact stories, the same exact videos, but with their experience on it. It would be like that would be really awesome, but you don't have it. You don't have it out there. And it's kind of a bummer because it's like, man, everyone gets this much interest off of my channel. And I do appreciate that. In the comments, when the ride manufacturers pop up in the comments, that's incredible. It's like, check that out. When engineers pop up, amazing. Other mechanics, other operators, people that have been around that have been to way more parks in just part of their life that I will ever be to. Let's like they've been to all these parks. It's like there's an amazing amount of experience and wealth of knowledge in this channel alone. It is absolutely incredible to watch. And I don't look at it as in it's like my channel completely. I look at this as like a community almost that has been built up. It's incredible to watch. It's incredible to be a part of. Really, it is. So that is one of the fun things that I get to because like, oh, here's my opinion on this. Here is my thought about how this would happen. And then I get people that pop up. They're like, you were right about this. You're wrong about that. This wouldn't happen. That wouldn't happen. It's like, okay. I also know that every ride is different. Like, no matter what you do, it's different. So when people say, oh, you're wrong about stuff, it's like, not necessarily 100%, but maybe wrong about it. Almost, honestly, like the zipper video and stuff out there, it's like, couldn't find the manual for it. So someone's like, hey, here's the manual for it. I found it. There it is for you. I'm like, cool. Thank you very much. I've had other people that own and operated the things. They say, no, that's, your theory about this happening, that wasn't right. It's like, okay. Um, I really love to see when people can get more information because I am also learning at the same time as everybody else. Uh, the two Ryans, both El Toro and Ryan the Right Mechanic, best channels on their subjects. Yeah, El Toro Ryan's great. There's a lot of channels out there. Um, like I said, my feed is all YouTube. It's all ride stuff. So it's like a lot of the channels that you all watch, I watch the same exact channels. I do the same thing. I watch their stuff too. You know who I really can't get enough of right now? It's like I love the style um, of all things. It's Face Ripped Off. Is anyone else watching Face Ripped Off? Like that guy's style of putting his videos together. Uh, I don't know what it is. Like, I love that guy's style for putting his park trip videos together. Uh, it's absolutely awesome. Like, we will watch videos like Sun comes out and like while we're eating dinner, like he'll turn on YouTube and just watch like roller coaster videos, and we will over like re-narrate even like things like when we go to a park like went to Vala's, it's like we're like live narrating in like Face Ripped Off script. Like uh, so it's funny, but it's amazing when you come across somebody you like that has a style that just like that's cool. You may just find this weird little quirk thing that you like from a channel. It might be something that maybe everybody's doing, but somebody just does it a little bit differently. But it's YouTube such an amazing place to go and find all this stuff. No, so I just looked down here. Face Ripped Off does not do technical stuff. All he does is he goes out. I don't know how he gets to all the parks he does, but he's constantly going to amusement parks and simply just spending a day or two, maybe as like a trip. And he just does basically trip reports, is what I call them. Or he says, "This is my trip. This is what I rode on. I like these rides. I don't like those rides." It doesn't sound like much, but it's the style in which he does it is the interesting part. Like, because a lot of people, myself included, do all sorts of trip reports. It's like, okay, but the style in which he does it is really interesting. I know I'm plugging a lot of Face Ripped Off here, but oh, earlier, yeah, this I can't remember where it was. I saw someone. I saw it pass by. See if I can find it real quick. Sorry. All right. So yeah, sorry about it. I saw it pass by and I was like, oh, I'll come back to it. Um, but oh, maybe it's there's another one right here. How'd you get the chair? All right. So this is actually it's a real seat off of a Intamin T438 suspended U-shaped impulse coaster. um, And the reason for this is that we had just bought these seats. That's why it's in such nice condition, right? We had just bought these seats for our ride, put them in, and one of the mechanics messed it up right off the bat. Right off the bat, messed it up. Not like it was in the ride and we were doing it and like we were fudging something around and then it got messed up. This chair was out of the box and the mechanic had trouble running a bolt into one of the holes, something along those lines. So they grabbed the impact and drove the bolt in as I guess thinking that they were going to clean the threads out for some reason. I don't know why you wouldn't grab a tap to clean threads out. That's what I've always done. Weird. But look around. See right there? That's the bolt right there. That's cross threaded. Now, a lot of people may be like, well, who cares if it's cross-threaded? What I don't get it. The problem is that the seat back itself, this whole exterior is a fiberglass pan with metal reinforcement. Unfortunately, on the insides, those basically the nuts on the inside were like tack welded because they were meant to have pull strength. So when they cross threaded it, they twisted it, and the nut actually broke loose. The nuts inside all the padding. It's inside all this padding. So it's not something you can get back to and resecure that nut anymore. So this entire seat pan, which was like, I don't know, these things are close to $1,000 a piece. This entire thing was trash as soon as that bolt spun, and you can't get it out either. Which I don't care. I didn't need to take it out. But so we were literally going to throw it in the trash. And people say, "Well, why can't you just do something different?" The seat is actually held in by, let's see, it's got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. The seat's held in by 14 bolts. Couldn't you just run it with 13 bolts in there? Well, the seat is the first part of the restraint to the ride. You don't want to remove components of a restraint and continue to run the ride. It's really bad. That would look bad. That would be bad. You don't want to do it at all. So it's like, if you can't put all the seat bolts in, then the seat's trash. Got to throw it away. So I just asked my boss, my director, can I have that? He's like, well, what are you going to do with it? I'm like, make an office chair out of it. He's like, yeah, okay. So we went over and got a material release form. That's the company standard. And we had to sign the material release form and go through all the stuff. And I actually got a chair, brought it home, got an old office chair, took the padding off the top of it, and just mounted the swivel base directly to the bottom of the seat. There you go. Now, I like the idea of the B&M chairs, but the problem is they are just foam padding, and you need the metal spine. The seat bottom has its own insert, which you'd be okay there, but the back has a sheet metal pan that comes up, and then you need, because I would want to put lateral supports on, just like the rides, but they are tubular steel supports to come around the back. It's a very complex seat to make. If you used a hyper seat, it would be a little easier because that's just a pan in the bottom, I believe it is. But yeah. Yeah. Oh, and then yeah, for the uh, for the upgrade to Stardust Racers on their information where they said that we you now have to transfer out of it. It was the same exact thing was applied to Dragon Racers Rally and Monsters Unchained. So all those you have to get out of a wheelchair and transfer into it. I don't want this to become a thing. That's why I'm like, don't start poking at people's abilities. Um, but I just don't want it to be where it's like, oh, I'm going to go to an amusement park. It's like, well, you better see your doctor first and get the amusement park A1R form signed off and submitted to the park's insurance company before you go. I don't want something like that happening down the road. But if we keep drilling into people's abilities, eventually that'll happen. And that's why that was one of the big things. I'm like, do not drill into people's abilities about them getting on or off rides. Like, leave it up to them, figure out a liability, do something, but don't make it to where the standards become more stringent. Because eventually we're going to get to that path where you're going to need a doctor's form to go to an amusement park. It's going to get dumb, really dumb. Let's see here. Right, I went Six Flags Magic Mountain on full throttle. I pushed super hard down on the lap bar. It opened up at the top of the loop. So if you ever get something like that, you typically you won't hear a click. That's one of the things, like those ratchet, like the Premier rides there, they have a really strong ratchet sound from the bass, it's like really loud click, click, click as they come down. But when you get stapled, it happened to me at, let's see, Dorney Park. The guy came around, I got on Hydra, pretty sure it was Hydra, the B&M coaster, and the guy just came by and boom, Office Space stapled me right in there. And I knew there was a problem because when he did it, it locked. It it went down and stayed. I did not hear a click. And I'm pretty good at listening to those things, even though my hearing is shot. I mean, I wear hearing aids on a normal basis. Um, but yeah, I was like, that knuckled in on itself. That's where the two teeth, instead of sliding underneath each other and latching in, they basically come down and they go right on top of each other like that. They're point to point contact. It's enough to hold your restraint shut, but when you jiggle or jar the coaster really hard, it typically goes and slips out the other way and it goes up a notch. It's a common thing for a lot of toothed style restraints, but I went through that slow barrel roll right out of the station on Hydra, upside down, right in the middle of it. It went clunk, and I'm just like, yeah, like I don't care how much experience you have with it, myself included. Every time you get upside down and the restraint goes click and knuckles open on itself, it's like, oh yeah, yeah, you poop your pants a little bit. It's like everything kind of goes through your head really quick. And then it came back around, everything sat back down, and I'm just like, clunk clunk. I'm like, yeah, no, there it just hit that tooth in the right way. I was good, but I know how a lot of people just would freak out right after that. It's like, oh my gosh, yeah, it's it's a funny thing. It's funny, it's bad, it happens. Jojo roll. Yeah, that's it. The Jojo roll right out of the States. I don't know. I don't like that's the whole thing back to all the names of all the loops and stuff like that. I don't know. It's like corkscrew barrel roll, not a loop, that thing. The one everyone got a kick out of was on the SLC. It goes to that, the first loop it goes through, it does that like half loop and then it does another half loop and comes back down. We always called that the jelly bean loop because when you look at it from the side, it kind of looks like a big jelly bean. A lot of people love that. They're like, a jelly bean. Yeah. They're like, oh, we should rename that to the jelly bean loop. I'm like, yeah. Ryan, you keep a coaster count? No, I do not. I don't keep a coaster count. I don't even know where to start with that one. I wouldn't know. Like, I don't know. Do you count coasters that you repeat, or is it just one the first time that's the count? It's probably just the first time that's the count, right? I know I don't keep one. Son just tried starting his, but yeah, I don't keep a coaster count myself. I just go, if it's open, it's open. If it's not, it's not. In fact, I'm thinking about the video that I'm going to do for Monday, and I think I'm going to do that one on taking care of a crappy park. I'm not sure yet. But it kind of resonates. There's a lot of times you go to a park, we've all done this. Go to a park and just like everything is down. It's like everything's down. It's like this isn't working, that's not working. This one ride that's normally bulletproof, they're running one train on it for some reason. What the heck? The park doesn't like it either. And maintenance is just dying on the other end. They're like, oh my gosh. But I'm thinking about doing a video about that because staying on top of a crappy park is hard to do, really hard to do. That's the stuff that makes you want to quit for sure. There's one. You have any opinion, possible King to Ka replacement? I've seen the what people are saying like this is probably what's going to go there. It's a spinning launch coaster, and I'm just like, that is not much of a replacement. Oh, it's going to be a world record breaker. It's like, yeah, okay. Most world record breakers these days are just like semantics in motion. That's all they are. It's the world record. What is it? It's the tallest blue coaster in the world. It's like, oh my gosh, really? It's not the tallest coaster in the world. It's the tallest blue one. Is that what we're doing now? It's like, oh, semantics. Just absolutely don't do it. I just, it doesn't look like much of an exciting thing for me. I'm like, okay, launch out, go up some sort of like curly spiral and come back down. I'm just looking at it. It's like, oh, great. Shuttle coaster. The throughput's not going to be great. Yeah. I mean, once you start getting into the semantics of world record holders, it's just like, it's dumb. It's really dumb. Yeah. All right. Well, I actually think, I mean, I've been on for an hour now. I think I've been doing pretty good. Um, okay. Let's see. Suggested that the Mac Tower is not keen to cause replacement, just sitting on the plot. I don't know. I have along the lines of Great Adventure. I've got a bad feeling about that park in general, just because of how much they suddenly tore out, and then they're like, "This is what we're putting back in its place," and I'm looking at them like, "You did not need to tear out hardly any of those rides to put that ride in." So either there's a really big piece of the puzzle that they haven't yet disclosed, that maybe the next company will disclose it, whoever buys that park, or they're just not going to do anything with it. Yeah. Rumors run rampant on this stuff. So I am not a rumor person. Um, I just don't poke and prod into it that much. I guess I could, but I kind of like being surprised too. It's like, all right, except for like when some of the parks do stuff, they're like, oh, what was that park that was just like, oh, here's we're gonna hint at the capital for next year, and they showed a picture of a tank, and everyone's like, that's an SNS scream and swing. Like, that's not a hint. That's blowing it out of the water. Come on. Oh, all right. Thank you everybody for watching. I do appreciate it. Um, Again, let's not go down this path of poking at people's abilities for rides. It's not a, it's a slippery slope we don't want to partake in. Uh, yeah, that's it. I'm gonna call it a night. Everyone else have a good night. Thanks for watching, liking, subscribing, sharing, doing all that stuff. I do appreciate it, and it does help me out. All right, stay off the air gates. Maybe I could figure out how to end this thing. Have to push a button. Hey, there it is.